일단 저희가 첫 경기에 되게 뒤통수한데 맞았는데
We want more than just one win, one upset against a big team. We want to get out of groups. We want to be on the quarterfinals.
Brazil scored the biggest goal of the tournament so far.
For us, success will be going out of groups and then taking it whatever comes.
Good tidal wave, but Odoamne flashes it! Good tier plays as Yankos picks up the second kill. Good cue from Revolta, and there's the kick. We're at an AHQ with a significant lead.
The win and push, this is a big mistake by Van der Kar.
Oh my god! Left to fall. That is an ace. That's going to be buried in AHQ with a significant lead. Good headbutt from Mako as Clearlock exhausted, but Primal Surge spear lands. Flashes out of the way. Good tidal wave, but Odoamne flashes it. Good tier plays.
San Francisco is going crazy. Brazil scored the biggest goal of the tournament.
Hello, League fans, and welcome to the World's 2016 Group Stage live from the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium in San Francisco, California. Yesterday, we punched 2 tickets to the quarterfinals, and by the time we're done today, 2 more teams will be on their way to Chicago. We've got fans streaming into the arena. The lights are a-shining. The teams are ready to play 6 action-packed games, possibly more if we have some tiebreakers. Who knows? Earlier, we got a look at INTZ making their way into the arena. They'll face an Edward Gaming that is sure to be looking for some payback after falling to the Brazilians in week 1. Now H2K, they're going to be seen here getting some last-minute practice in before they go on stage later today. Now welcome everybody, I'm James Dash Patterson, joined today by another crack team of analysts, Clement Chu, Martin DeFischer-Lunga, and Joshua Jatliesman. Guys, we had 7 crazy games yesterday that made for a very interesting result in Group A. Are you ready for day 2?
Yeah, I mean, we're 5/8 done the group stage right now, but it's so interesting the difference you see in play from when they played 1 game a day to when they have to play 3, maybe 4 games in a day.
And also we get to see when you have to play more games, you know, during one day. Some people, they get exhausted. We saw Albus Nox Luna play really well in one very long game against, of course, Rocks Tigers yesterday, and then kind of look sloppy after.
It's just so interesting to see the teams come in prepared and have these super cheese strategies up. We don't know what happened between the weekend, but it's going to be exciting.
Very different type of group stage this week. Now, along with our international teams, our broadcasting partners from every corner of the globe are here bringing the action to the world in over 15 languages. You're seeing our friends from Brazil's CB LoL, the CIS's League of Legends Continental League, and of course, the Chinese LPL is joining us as well. Now, yesterday, Albus Nox Luna wowed the world audience with tons of big plays. On Twitter, call me maybe, I just might, said PvP Stejos with the best dancing skills I have ever seen. What were those? Well, let's take a look.
Actually going to go in, but that's a flash force. Perks goes in, wants the big play. Going to wait for Elise to repel back down. Misses that first Q, but the snare's in there, and Rise does more than enough damage. He's trying to cut around those Spiderlings, doing a nice job.
Oh my God!
What a save!
Oh.
That was gorgeous.
Oh. You bought so much time with the Spiderlings blocking, or trying to make the Spiderlings block, and Liquid shows up, and nothing is in favor of G2 right now.
It was actually just goofy watching it, seeing this Elise run around in circles, and you're thinking he was doing it as a joke, right? Like, oh, how is he going to get away? Then he actually escaped. You're like, what the happened right there?
It's one of those moments where I'm accepting my death. I'm just going to waste some time here. And then Lecrit coming in, may I have this dance, cuts in, saves his duo there. But the LCL squad was not done building their highlight reel just yet. At Agent Nick42 exclaimed, Albus Nox Luna beat Rocks Tigers. What is this Worlds? Here's that final push from ANX.
But the Nexus, just a little too much for Lizard, going for it, the hero of ANX, and it's not enough just yet. Rock still alive again.
All these minions are hitting the Voidling still. The Nexus is
go. He's the greatest time. He's getting it. They did it. Oh my God, they did it.
Nexus, move, Nexus, move, Nexus, Nexus. Nexus. Блять, они добьют.
Грибы добьют, грибы добьют!
Я держу,
Грибы добьют!
super, super fun to hear the team communication. They're really calm at first. They're saying Nexus, Nexus, and then they actually realize, oh, we can actually finish this one. They start screaming in the end. And what an upset and what an absolutely insane performance overall from this team.
Yeah, and that game had everything. It had the favorites of the tournament versus a wildcard region. It had chokes, it had Baron steals, and it also had
3
epic
Baron
finish.
steals, I
Like,
think.
The combination of things that all happen in one game makes it one of the best games I've ever watched.
But that's also that fatigue factor that you're talking about there. A game that length on a day like this where you have to play so many as is can really get to people. Now, of course, we love reading your comments, so a reminder that you're invited to connect with us on Twitter to share your own personal favorite tournament moments using the hashtag #WorldsBigPlays. But gentlemen, yesterday saw some action-packed performances from the teams in Group A, and ultimately Rocks, Tigers, and Albus Nox Luna prevailed and will be moving on to Chicago.
And Rocks Tigers have to be so relieved after that because we saw the craziest groups, we saw some of the craziest games, and the Rocks Tigers are the #1 seed, like everyone expected, right? If they didn't have all those crazy games and losses, you would just expect them to be the #1 seed. So they essentially get away with it as far as that group is, and now they have a week to try and get better.
And you have to remember that, of course, if ANX had beaten G2, that Rocks would not even have had the opportunity to contest for that 1 seed. So a little bit of luck there in getting helped out by the G2 roster.
Definitely so.
And if you look at like the meta that changed yesterday, like people are really favoring a lot of playmaking champions. Alistar in the support role is much higher picked than Karma right now, 85% win rate on 11 wins. And also if you look at the jungler position, Rek'Sai has completely gone off the radar. 75% ban pick last week, didn't show up at all yesterday.
And I like to see this change in meta, you know, over the group stages because you see teams who adapt faster actually pick up wins because of it. I think Rocks Tigers, one of the main reasons they got the first seed was because they picked up Alistar. And Gorilla started playing it. CLG, even in that game against the Rocks Tigers towards the end of the day, gave away that Alistar to Gorilla. He was a beast in that game as well. So I really like to see these changes and adaptations, and I like to see teams being a little bit ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, a champion that a lot of people were saying falling away moving into the Worlds Tournament ends up being one of the top picks here so far. Now, if we learned anything from yesterday, it's that you cannot count anyone out. But so far, the teams in Group C have performed the closest to expectations that were there coming into the tournament. So let's talk about some of the emergent trends for this group, starting with EDG.
Yeah, well, obviously the loss to INTZ was incredibly surprising. I called it the biggest Worlds upset ever when it happened. Maybe we've been supplanted by ANX getting out of Worlds now, but after that, they kind of regained some of their confidence. They were able to solidly beat AHQ and H2K, and they're still essentially poised to take first place in this group and should be fairly confident.
And I think it's super important to highlight, yes, okay, the first game was bad from EDG, but then the next 2 games, they were playing perfectly fine. Maybe not 100% just yet, but enough to win this group. So I think people saying, you know, oh, EDG, they might not make it out. They could maybe get upset again. I think what happened last week was a fluke with that one loss to INTZ. I think they're going to be the strongest team, and I actually expect them to win every single game today.
I will concur that they are the favorites of this group, but I think they did show weaknesses and aren't playing up to the LPL level. If you look at their lanes, they're getting camped so much by the enemy junglers. 54% enemy jungle proximity pre-15 minutes, but Clearlove isn't returning that pressure, and he isn't getting his own leads himself. So this is a team that I feel like has been gifted 2 really good early level 1s, but hasn't capitalized on it, and they need to play more effective to really make us believe that they're champion contenders.
Now moving on to their first opponent of the day, and the only team, as we mentioned, to hand them a loss yet, CB LoL's INTZ Esports.
And we hear this team often talk about how they're still confident they can make it out of groups, and that's obviously step 1. You know, you got to believe it yourself, and I think that's fine. I understand also why they think they can beat HK and AHQ, which really are the 2 teams they're looking at probably this week here, because INTZ, they have shown some good things. I do think that we got down to earth again when we got to see them, you know, play H2K and lose in the early game so quickly. AHQ didn't have any problems either really against them. And that puts everything kind of in perspective where that EDG upset really isn't what we should expect every time from INTZ.
Yeah, you can see why they're confident because of the win, but you can also see why you should temper your expectations. Their losses weren't very impressive, and if they're trying to prepare for today, it's more about building on the strengths of the EDG victory. I really feel like they need to try and give Revolta as much freedom as possible, and I feel like he's kind of hamstrung himself a bit in these games, trying to make up for the losing mid and bottom lanes, which are going to be losing anyway, and it takes away his playmaking potential. So for them, I would try and pick them onto kind of neutralizing laners in the mid and the bot lane and try and let Revolta play a free game.
Next up in Group C, we have the only European team to come out of Week 1 with a victory in H2K.
The European hope, the last hope we have now, really.
Tell me about them, Deficio.
We don't
How are they going to
expect-
save Europe?
Yeah, how are they going to save Europe? They're going to basically save Europe by winning the laning phase and fixing some of the problems they had closing out games from last week. I need to see a more active team when it comes to setting up vision around something like Baron and actually baiting that objective properly. And we need to see better late game fights because we know they're good in the laning phase. We know they have, like, across the board, all three lanes. I'm just going to give you quick numbers here. CSD difference at 15 minutes. Oda Amna, he's up 16.7 on average. Forgiven, 21 CS on average. And Ryu is up 6 CS. So all three lanes are winning, but they can't use it to win the game.
Yeah, and that's to your point. I actually think they can get out of this group because those CS differentials aren't just good, they're spectacular. And if they just have a little bit of macro play and cut a few of the decisions down that were making them wrong, they're going to beat AHQ and maybe even have a chance to take down EDG. So it's a big if. The macro play, you can't just say, oh yeah, they'll get it. All you have to do is lane. The game is much bigger than the laning phase, but they have been spectacular in that phase of the game.
But the way they are failing is in the team fights. If you look at these team fights, Ryu's doing a lot of the initiation. Their backline is coming in late or backing out early. They're really not up to par. And I just don't see how you get out of this group without getting past EDG in team fights.
All right, but perhaps the antithesis of H2K, we've got to talk about our final team here last, certainly not least, AHQ.
Yeah, I've been really impressed about AHQ's late game so far. If you look at the team fighting against H2K, they have really good positioning. They're caught in the pit, but a clutch flash from Ann right there saves the entire team fight, and they're able to mop up. And if you switch over to the game versus INTZ, I was also very impressed because of their macro game. They actually got all three inhibitors without giving INTZ a single fight because of their lane management and because of their poke compositions. And also, in contrast to last year, they're playing around their top lane a lot more. 80% of the ganks pre-15 minutes going up to Ziv, and Ziv is returning that favor with 37% damage share. That's actually the highest in the entire tournament and 50% more than any other top laner.
Yeah, really, the only thing we're looking at as a negative for this team is like some of the early laning phases, especially mid and bot lane. We obviously have Westor and Chowie constantly switching. Westor is starting today, but that's where I get even more questions about that mid lane matchup because Westor against strong laning teams, he tends to fall really far behind, he gets pressured a lot, and then the other mid laner can start roaming, which is something he wants to do, but he has to do well in the laning phase. And that's why I kind of like Chowie above him, but obviously AHQ has so much experience and time playing with these two mid laners, they know which one will give them the best result.
All right, well, we'll have to see which of these teams will pull away today. They'll be following Rocks Tigers and Albus Nox, who emerged from Group A yesterday. In today's battle for Group C, EDG and AHQ currently hold an edge over the other teams. Now let's take a look at today's scheduled matches. First up is EDG versus INTZ. Each team will play their final 3 matches today, and any ties will be decided immediately at the end of our last scheduled match. And all throughout the group stage, Riot Games 2 is online and bringing you the player experience stream. Today, join our team of analysts and guests, Mark, Z, and Zig, as they rotate through a list of unique, individually focused streams designed to bring you a more gameplay-focused experience of Worlds 2016. Now, a reminder that the newest addition to the championship skin, Zed, is available in client. 25% of sales from the championship Zed and Ward skins will contribute to the World's prize pool, directly raising the stakes in the fight for the Summoners Cup. Now, INTZ took down Edward Gaming in Week 1, but one upset victory won't satisfy the CB LoL champs.
Yeah, we want more than just one win, one upset against a big team. We really want to do something like solid. We want to get out of groups. We want to be on the quarterfinals. We want you to be there. So we are still not slightly satisfied now.
Well, we'll see if they can do it. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Devin Pyrotechnics Young. Joining